Africa is moving up, and to keep moving up, the continent needs world-class transport infrastructure. Now, one of the highlights at the Southern African Transport Conference was the discussion around developing bus rapid transit systems on the continent. A concept quite new to Africa, but the first BRT system in the world goes back to 1974. The Integrated Transportation Network, implemented in Brazil. Lagos, Nigeria was the first African city to offer the BRT to commuters. That was in 2008. Since 2009, BRT systems have popped up all over major African cities, such as Accra, Kampala, and in South Africa, Cape Town, Port Elizabeth, Johannesburg, and soon Rustenburg.
It's a very different town, Rustenburg. It's a very bustling, vibrant inner city, and it's got a lot of mining around the area. It's the biggest platinum producing region in the world. So there's a lot of mines which operate 24/7. So it's not just like a typical public transport system in a city which is in and out at rush hour. It actually happens all day long and weekends as well, and in the middle of the night when there are shifts. Also, Rustenburg is one of the fastest growing regions in the country. There's almost over 500,000 people living in the greater area, so there's definitely a need, and 56% of those people do not have cars. So when we're finished, we're expecting the service will cater for about 200,000 passengers a day.
Johannesburg's BRT system, called Riyavaya, has been especially successful, transporting about 1 million passengers per month. That's roughly between 30 to 35,000 passengers per day.
Currently, we're operating Phase 1A, 143 buses on 25.5 kilometers of trunk route infrastructure. The company that is running the buses, 100% owned by former minibus taxi owners, all buses being driven by former minibus taxi drivers. Currently under construction is an additional 18 kilometers of trunk route Riyavaya infrastructure, very important route in that it really touches on a number of major health institutions, Rahima Musa Hospital, Helen Joseph Hospital, Charlotte Makeke, as well as two of the major tertiary institutions, the University of Johannesburg and the University of Witwatersrand. We aim to operationalize that phase of Riyavaya, Phase 1B, by mid-2012, and of course much more complex set of negotiations and discussions, because potentially larger number of operators, not only from the minibus taxi sector but also other potentially bus operators potentially affected by that phase. And that's pretty much where we are, planning for Phase 1C, taking the corridor further up north towards Sandton and Alexandra, seriously underway.
Cape Town's BRT system, My City, began operating in May this year, with 42 buses and 9,000 passengers per day.
During the 2010 World Cup, we had a fantastic experience where people came out from their private space, their private homes, their private cars, and we all joined in public spaces, in public transport, in a public event, and it was a fantastic experience. We are hoping to emulate that with public transport, to get people off the roads with their private cars and to participate in public transport. I think it has enormous social benefits as well as economic benefits, and it's also a unifying factor. When people participate in public spaces using public facilities, they become more socially aware.
Of course, such a system does come with its fair share of challenges. Geographical limitations, financing, political will, institutional and technical capacity are all barriers to making BRT a reality.
Ultimately, the city remains focused on the provision of mobility and the provision of public transport that is people-centered and responds to the needs of community members who live in a variety of areas and who don't have access to private cars, for whom the city has an obligation to begin to respond. Of course, what Riyavaya has also done is to set the tone together with our planning department for transit-oriented development in the city of Joburg, to really look at densification on public transport corridors, to look at economic opportunities on public transport corridors, and importantly, to begin to change local township economies so that you don't have this outflow of people from dormitory townships in the morning and flowing back into dormitory townships in the evening, that we really make transport work and become the catalyst, in fact, for development and economic development of areas that historically have remained underdeveloped.
In countries and cities across the world, including Brazil, Singapore, Bangkok and India, the move to BRT from rail and other motorized vehicles has actually created a decrease in transport infrastructure spend and improved the lives of its citizens dramatically. Priorities need to be focused on the long-term sustainability of an economy, and the BRT system provides just that.